Very good morning, students. Today we will discuss our first playwright, Eugene Gladstone O'Neill. That is Eugene O'Neill. He was born in the year 1888 and he died in the year 1953. Now, Eugene O'Neill is a great Irish dramatist, American dramatist, right? Greatest Irish American dramatist, and he was popularly known as the Shakespeare of America. Whenever we have studied drama in the last course also, when we studied British drama, we read that there was nobody who could reach up to that level. And whenever we talk about universality of Shakespeare, we say that no dramatist for that matter has been able to match up to his level, but then there are certain writers who have somehow been able to reach that universality which Shakespeare had in his works, especially drama, right? So O'Neill was known as the Shakespeare of America. He was the only American dramatist, please note, the only American dramatist to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in the year 1936, and the only dramatist to have won 4 Pulitzer Prizes in the year 1920, 22, 28 and 57. So he is one of the most remarkable American dramatists, right? Now, if we study about his life, he was born in a hotel on Broadway, and he was the son of a great American actor James O'Neill, and his mother was Ella Quillen. Now, as far as the first 7 years of his life are concerned, because his parents were actors, especially his father, he kept moving with him from places. He did not have a stationary schooling life, right? So he toured with his father and he saw the world of theatre at different places. In the next 7 years, he was given strict Catholic schooling before he joined Catholic education, before he joined a school in Connecticut. Then, though he was a bright student, right, but because there was a lack of stability, there was lack of love in the family, he was already into drinking alcohol and also having relationships with prostitutes. Okay, so though he was bright, still he was not able to complete his, not even complete, he dropped out from the very first year, but he continued his short course at Harvard University, and the short course was related to playwriting. Okay, that is what he did, and with this was the end of his formal education. Then in the year 1910, he married Kathleen, and he was his first wife, that is a written first marriage, and after the marriage in the year 1910, he left his wife, he didn't separate, but he just left his wife, and he got into the adventure of traveling different places. He went to England, and when he came back from there, he saw that Kathleen had given birth to Eugene O'Neill Jr. That was the name the son was given, okay? But he did not even, the senior Eugene O'Neill, he did not even see the face of the baby, and he left the place. And in the year 1912, his first wife, Kathleen, she filed a divorce, and depressed and sad, and also suffering from illness, that is, he got malaria, and he returns back home to his parents' place, right? And there he finds his father was full of gloom, depression, sadness. He was despondent, and his mother had become what? She had become a morphine addict, right? And this was kind of this thing that the way he saw his parents, especially his father and his addicted mother, it was more of a turmoil, you know. He just got completely disturbed, right? And his inner mental turmoil, you know, that it influenced him to start writing plays, and this made him a playwright. This is the first influence. So what we can conclude is that it was a tragic life which eventually made O'Neill a writer par excellence, a dramatist, a playwright par excellence. Then in the next 5 years, yes, in the next 5 years, he worked on one-act plays which were more of a melodrama, right? And in the year 1918, he married Agnes Bolden. She was his second wife, and he had a daughter and a son from her, a son and a daughter. And it is said that his daughter, I'm forgetting the name, she was married to Charlie Chaplin. Okay, you'll find this if you read things. So second marriage, and in the 1920s came his first big work, that was Beyond the Horizon, which won him the Pulitzer. See, first I wrote over here 1920, and it was for Beyond the Horizon. Then initially, you know, we can say that his work was more of a serious American theatre, and after that what happened? He went into incredibly productive period where he wrote his great plays, Emperor Jones and The Hairy Ape. You know, these two plays, they established him as a master of the craft playwriting, right? Then after this, he saw this period, you know, I have written a traumatic period, because when he went home in the 1920s, he saw that he learned about the death of his father, the death of his mother, and the death of his brother. And another tragic event that took place at this point of time was, in this traumatic period, was his separation from Agnes, the second wife. Okay, now this traumatic period and the several deaths that had taken place, you know, it brought out the master dramatist O'Neill, right? He wrote his masterpieces in 1924. I think I missed to write it here. In 1924 came The Desire Under the Elms, right? I won't write full now. And in 1931, another masterpiece, that was Morning Becomes Electra. Okay, I'm not writing the full names, you can just know this, right? What came out, or what was the outcome of this dramatic period. Now you can very well correlate initial tragedies, the turmoil made him a playwright. Then he wrote melodramas. Second marriage, first Pulitzer comes, then many other works come, and then a traumatic period comes in his life where he's mentally totally disturbed, and comes out his masterpiece. In the 1930s and 1940s, he wrote a cycle of 9 plays, you know, which dealt with the lives of a New England family. Now, before I go ahead, remember one thing, that these two especially this era, which I mentioned as the traumatic era, this was the time which shows the influence of Greek tragedy, Greek drama, I would say, in his works, and he used the features of the Greek tragedy to express complexities of family life. This we will study in Desire also. Okay, we'll elaborate upon it when we see that, when we read Desire or when we discuss Desire. Then 1930s, cycle of 9 plays, I told you, which dealt with lives of a New England family. And in the final years of his life, I must say, he was badly ill, right? And his health was deteriorating, but he wrote the greatest plays that the American staged witnessed, though they were published and performed posthumous, that is after his death, but they were his masterpieces. So even in his bad of health, he wrote the great masterpieces of his life, right? And in the year 1953, he was in a hotel, Boston Hotel. यहाँ पे मैंने mention किया है Broadway Hotel, and over here when he died, he was in the Boston Hotel, and he died in the year 1953. And before he died, there was a quote that was found. It said, "I knew it," quote unquote, "I knew it, I knew it, born in a hotel room and died in a hotel room." So these were the last lines of the, it won't be wrong if I say, a miserable genius, isn't it? When I say miserable, I think with this, and with this, and finally this, you can very well correlate how great and grand playwright O'Neill became. What were the aspects of his life which eventually made him a successful, not just one of the best and the greatest writers of America, right? And then when we talk of his genius, I would like to focus on the point that he was the one who introduced realism into American drama. Let me just add it here. So talking about his genius as a playwright, I told you that he was the first American writer to introduce realism on the stage, let us say. So he brought social realism on the stage. When I'm saying social realism on the stage, I mean to say that the works focused more on the society, right? The works talked more about the social issues, the realities of the life, the realities of the society, the reality of human existence, right? Then there are important influences. I have already discussed it earlier also, because it relates not just to him, but writers of the span between 1920s, that was the European realists who had a great influence as far as O'Neill is concerned. Henrik Ibsen, Anton Chekhov, Strindberg, they were the main influencers, right, who influenced him to work on tragedy, taking help or using the pattern of Greek tragedy to bring out the sad reality of the society, right? Then his dramas they are experimental in nature, right? They are emotionally probing dramas which really shake you up and which really make you think that what we as humans, we make our life, or we turn our life into having certain desires, having certain notions, and dealing with life. We ourselves complicate our life. Then he addresses the difficulties of human society. He discusses social issues in his drama. Social issues are discussed. That is why I told you social realism was brought to stage. And the characters are marginalized by the society. In the sense, he talked about the marginalized section of the society. It is not the elites that he talks about, right? And then he was the first to introduce realism, the first to use American vernacular, the local language, the local dialect on the stage. And that was, again, we would say it was a part of realism, because the audiences could, correlate, could connect so well with the language being used. It was not just for the academicians to listen to whatever dialogues were being spoken on the stage, but even a layman could very well understand the language that was being used by the characters, right? Or the actors for that matter. And another thing that he introduced, other than socialism, was the psychological realism. His plays are characterized by deep psychological complexity. His characters are the ones who have desires. They are suffering from loneliness, they are suffering from alienation, they are suffering between the truth, between illusion and reality. They are trying to find out the meaning of it. So, as far as O'Neill is concerned, what we can conclude, or what if we, before conclusion, we can say that what I just mentioned are also the themes of most of his plays. The most important thing is that each and every play of his has some or the other autobiographical element in it, right? And there are the psychological realms that he talks about. He talks of loneliness, he talks of alienation, he talks of the American dream with which people suffer from, right? And the suffering that people undergo because of their passions, because of their desires, and because of so many things happening around in the society. These are the certain themes which are repetitive, or which can be found in almost all his plays, right? So what we are to deal with, we have to deal with Desire Under the Elms, the one of the masterpieces written by O'Neill, keeping in view his life, what he had gone through. And we will find out, we will work on whether we find some autobiographical elements over there or not, and how the psychological and the social realism has been used in the play. Do we see these influences in the play, and how well he has been able to make use of realism, naturalism, symbolism in his play The Desire Under the Elms. So that will be the next video will be, the following video will be the discussion on the play Desire Under the Elms. I hope you all enjoyed a little bio of O'Neill, and I would expect you all to work a little more on it and prepare your notes. So that is all for today. See you in the next video. Thank you.